Hey y'all, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. So I want to talk a little bit about this DeWalt XR brushless chainsaw. I'm sure there's a lot of videos on YouTube of it. I've just been using this as I'm cutting a lot of wood from a cutback of my big maple tree. I took this out yesterday. I cut down a mulberry tree with it. Mulberry is really, if you want to know if your blade's getting dull, cut some mulberry. You'll know real quick. This stuff's kind of tough. And I cut down a little like bush tree for someone real quick, and it's just a real handy chainsaw to grab and go. I'm going to talk about some of the things I really like about this saw and some of the things that I find annoying. We're going to go ahead and put a new chain on it. This one's just, this one's cut a couple cords of wood now, not to mention all the brush that I've hauled out. So it's that time. It's getting pretty dull. I don't typically sharpen chains. I just buy these like 2-packs for, I want to say it's 12 or 13 bucks for a 2-pack of chains. So you can get a lot of cutting out of a chain. And, by the time you sit there with the file and sharpen it up, you're better to replace it. And even a sharpened chain never cuts like a new chain will. Just how it is. So I believe that someone said that this has the Oregon bar and chain on it. So I don't know if this chain works on Oregon as well. This says it's Black & Decker, Craftsman, Husqvarna, and Railby on the back. But it was listed on Amazon as fitting this saw, so we shall see. So the things I like about this saw are that it's quick, easy, grab and go. It's just very portable. You can take it with you, and you can do some real cutting with it. Yes, it cuts a little slower than a gas saw will. So if you're cutting and cutting all day long, you're probably going to want a more powerful gas-powered saw. But this cuts good enough. I mean, it really does. It'll take you a few extra seconds for that cut, but the truth is, the type of cutting I usually do is cut a little bit, then move a bunch of crap out of my way, then cut a little bit more. And so my saw's usually sitting there idling, and after it idles for a while, it usually dies. And my gas saw is a pull-in, so you have to keep pulling and pulling and pulling until it finally starts. And then you make a few more cuts and you sit down and you repeat that process. Where this, you just squeeze the trigger and you're ready to cut, right? You're not spending all that time pulling. And nothing frustrates me more than already being tired from cutting and hauling brush and wood and then having to sit there and pull on a saw. It just takes a lot more energy. But if you're in a situation where you're just going to be cutting for an hour, gas saw will be the way to go. The batteries in this last a long time. In fact, I usually wear out before the battery does. So I run the 4 and the 5 amp hours in this, and I don't notice much difference. But like I said, I don't run them completely dead, and I usually am like, time for a break. Let's go swap the battery. Annoying things about this saw are this clutch tightening mechanism for the blade. You tighten it until it clicks like that, and then you're good. But after you cut for 10-15 minutes, it'll be loose again, and you'll have to retighten it. So that's kind of weird. It's nice though that it's toolless, so it's just quick, flip it, boom, you're back in business. It's not a huge deal. And then your tensioner is back here, so you loosen that, and then you can adjust your bar tension right there. It does take bar oil, which goes in over here, and I just use whatever, this stuff. It says bar and chain oil on it. I buy it and put it in there. It's got a little oil gauge in the front. You can see this one's pretty low right now. It needs filled up again. But it does have this little oil gauge in the front, which is nice, because if you're cutting for a while, you will run out of oil before the battery goes dead. And you'll usually know that you've run out of oil because it'll start smoking a little bit as it burns through the wood from the bar getting hot. But just keep an eye on that as good as you can. It's got plenty of power. However, as the batteries get down to like there's 1 bar left, you do notice a pretty significant power reduction and a delay in cutting. So just swap the battery out with a better one. So I'm going to go ahead and let's replace the chain on this. I honestly have not torn into this at all before. But let's see what's under here. Assuming that comes off. I mean, it's pretty much like any standard saw. See, I got a lot of gunk built up in there that needs cleaned out. But you just got, you know, a couple little pegs, or a peg and a bolt, and a couple adjustment hole there, and a clutch drive, and nothing too serious there. So we'll go ahead and see what we got to do. It looks like we can still turn this and adjust our chain and bar when it comes off. I have not had any slippage of the chain, like as far as the chain coming off with this yet, and I've cut with it for hours on end. Well, not on end, but intermittently cutting for hours as I cut and haul brush and move things. You know, I sit it down. It's not just constantly running, but I haven't had the bar slip off. The bar doesn't look too like any worse for wear. There's no bends in it. You know, it's getting a little marked up here in a few spots, like right there, but that's just normal. And so out with the old chain there, and we'll clean her off. Always find these chains a bit of a Chinese jigsaw puzzle when they tangle up like this. I mean, I don't know. I just like, come on. I think so. Okay, and then we'll put this on here. There we go. Trying to get it lined up. The little tensioner wants to raise the edge of the bar as it tensions, and so it won't stay lined up there. Okay, it's in the groove, it's snugged up. Now we should be able to get this back on and cinch it all kind of down. I like to keep my bar a little tighter, my chain a little tighter than most probably. I know it wears the bar out earlier, but I find that it doesn't slip. Once it starts getting good and warm, this chain won't get as loose, it won't come off. And, you know, there's nothing that destroys a bar like chain slipping off of it over time, so I'm better off to have a little more friction on my bar. Okay, I think we're ready to go do some cutting. Let's slide the battery in here. The other thing that annoys me about this saw, if you're right-handed, you won't have to worry about it, but you got this little thumb brake that turns it on, and you can't pull the trigger without that being engaged. But then once it's engaged, you can take your hand off of it. This trigger is an on-off trigger. It's not a variable speed trigger. However, if you're left-handed, you're going to have to reach around with this thumb. Like that, but at least you don't have to hold it, so you can, then you're good to go. But it'd be nice if they made that some ambidextrous somehow. One of these days somebody will make a left-handed chainsaw, because, you know, I always have to use them backwards. The bar and everything to hold it's over here, so I'm usually have to hold it like that. Or just make one that's like reversible somehow. It would be ingenious. But anyway, let's go cut some wood. fire, it's been easier just to haul it. Alright, so I like the saw. It seems to work well, as you saw. You know, don't cut like I do. You should always have both hands on the saw, yada yada yada. Don't leave the wood in your hand and cut it. You'll cut your hand off. I get it. You know, I say, yeah, that's just how I do it. You guys do it how you want to do it. But you know, I really like this saw. You saw I had to stop and tighten that clutch a couple times, but you just flip it out, give it a twist, pop it back in, you're ready to cut. Of course, it's got this hand guard. If it kicks on you, that'll completely shut off power to the saw and break the chain. But yeah, overall, it's going to be a little slower than a gas saw, but it gets the job done, and it saves you so much time and energy with it being a lighter and not having to pull and pull and pull to get it started or fight with the choke and all that kind of stuff. Just go grab it and go. I think from a prepping standpoint, it's important that this saw is quiet. So if I had to go get some firewood in a SHTF situation, even though I'm not a big SHTF prepper, I'm more of a everyday kind of prepper. This definitely has the advantage of being stealthy. Take this and a large wheelbarrow out in the trees back here behind my house. I can find some fallen lumber, you know, some fallen timber, and cut that up and be out of there with a nice big wheelbarrow full of wood in 15-20 minutes, and nobody has to hear a chainsaw running. So I think it's got that advantage too, as well as these batteries and that charger can be run off of my solar setup really easily to, you know, charge them quietly as well without running a generator. So I think cordless tools in general have that advantage. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom, your frugal prepper. Everybody be happy, be healthy, and next weekend there is a chainsaw, brush hauling, wood cutting party at my house. I'm providing free water and a free piece of pizza to anybody that wants to come.